you've seen, my name is Sivakami. As Director of Schools at Akanksha, one of my core responsibility is to ensure that all our children are equipped with knowledge, skills, and values that empower them to make the choices that they need to make and to lead empowered lives. And yesterday, when Shruti was giving her closing remarks, she raised two very important questions. She left us with two very important thoughts. I'm just going to read that for all of us again. She said, we should make sure access to quality education should be made available to every child. And she also raised an important point. We need to do something to make this happen. So at Akanksha, there are two moments in our academic year that these two questions keep coming to us. One is during our junior KG admission time. So what happens is it happens through lottery process. So parents put in their admission for the seats for the children, and at the end of the admission process, we do see a lot of our parents walking away with tears because their children have not made it through the lottery process. And that is like, for everyone at Akanksha, is a moment of pain for us because we have to say no to a child because we don't have space in the schools that we run. The space is a constraint, our funding is a constraint, our resource is a constraint. So when we have to say no, it really breaks everyone's heart in Akanksha. So that is one moment that often leaves us with a question, why should quality education be an opportunity of chance for our children? The second moment, which is a moment of joy for us, is when our kids pass out of grade 10 and we see them entering into some of the best universities in the country. We see them taking on courses and creating newer pathways for themselves. So those moments also makes us feel like the work that we are doing is having an impact, but we still are left with the question, how do we make this happen for every child in our corporations that we are working in? So often grappling with these questions year after year, there was a moment we came up with a project. We were working on a project saying that how do we reach out to every child in our corporation? Can we build a scalable program? And then COVID hit us and our program, it just couldn't take off. After COVID, it just happened that Pimpri Chinchwad Municipal Corporation, they had a dream, and sir is here to talk more about it, that how do we take the practices that we see in Akanksha run schools to the entire corporation. And that led to the shaping of Project Setu. So to talk more about how that collaborative approach is making an impact in the corporation, I want to hand it over to Shekhar Singh sir, who's the Commissioner of the Pimpri Chinchwad Municipal Corporation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's not very often that you see municipal commissioners in conferences on education. You see us more in sanitation, you see us more in liquid waste management, you see us more in urban planning, etc. But having working in PCMC, I think Pimpri Chinchwad is PCMC, by the way. So having worked in PCMC, I've realized that PCMC as an organization is being someone who's always placed a good currency on what education should be. And one of the reasons why I'm here, I'll take you back to one slide which we just skipped. And that is the most important thing to me as a philosophy for what we are trying to do, what we are trying to build in the past 2 to 3 years, which is how we can keep kids. And we have 3 of our bright kids from PCMC and PMC both, but we have 2 of them from PCMC sitting here. How we can put them at the forefront, how we can put them at the center, how in their entire solar system of the entire collaboration that we keep about, they become the suns and we become the planets rotating around them, trying to not just take energy from them probably, but also trying to serve a bigger purpose where every child is able to realize the truest potential that the child is supposed to achieve. And that potential can be anywhere, right? That could be an artist, that could be a sports person, that could be a scientist, that could be anyone, engineer, doctor, whatever you have made. So how we can put and how we can have that entire vision for every child. When we were talking about Project Setu, as Sivakami just mentioned, one of the critical things that happen in government is that we are very good with pilots, but we often fail when we begin to take things at scale. And one of the reasons why that happens, or one of the major reasons why that happens, is that the vision that we try to portray in a pilot, we are not able to make it absorb to my entire team when we start to put it on scale. So it's easy to work with 6 Akanksha schools in Akanksha schools, but when I scale it up to 130 schools, whether each and every principal of mine understands the vision that we are trying to translate, whether each and every teacher understands the importance that we're trying to put on this entire focus of putting child at the center. And that is why pilots fail. And that is what we were trying to think when we were trying to scale this entire thing. One of the things that Shivagami mentioned about kids not getting admission to schools, I have a glass half full approach to it, where we say that we want to transform municipal schools into aspirational schools. And I have been telling my teachers, I'll be very happy if I start getting calls that we want admission in a municipal school, but we are not getting. If I see lines outside my schools with parents lining up and them wanting to take admission, but as she said, it's a sad thing, everyone should get admission, but I should have that thing, that aspiration of people wanting to put their kids into public school, not because they can't go to a private school, but because the quality of education, the quality of entire thing that we're delivering is much better. There are a few focus areas that we've taken, not just focusing on learning outcomes, but well-being and safety, and how we can provide a holistic for the kid. These are just numbers, about 58,000 kids in our entire setup, 146 schools, about 1,600 educators. There are few things that we've undertaken, won't go into much detail of the individual initiatives, but few quick things that we are doing. We are trying to focus on foundation literacy and numeracy through a program called Saksham, which is delivering quite good results. We started with this year and we are going to continue even next year. We are equipping students for English as a second language. We started with first and second class. We got amazing results. We are now scaling that up with Akanksha to third and fourth. And we are also doing a lot of quality improvement for our educators and trying to build a whole ownership. And this becomes something very critical. What if the Municipal Commissioner moves out? What if Akanksha moves out? Is the system ready enough to sustain that entire momentum? And that becomes the most critical part in the government. Whether, institutional capacity will take it forward if things change. And in the kind of impact that we've been able to achieve, we've gone for a library program last year, 50 schools of more than 130,000 books, 20,000 English practice book in English as a second language have been distributed, 211 curriculum books, and scaling it up now towards learning and also 21st century skills. Assessment has been a very critical part that we've tried to take. Punjab, I think, showed some data. I could not see, I was on the backstage. But for the first time starting last year, 23-24, we started to evaluate the impact of the assessment for each and every kid. Earlier, it used to be a sample survey or a NAS, which was not a third-party thing. We've started to do that with Quality Council of India for all our 58,000 students. This is the second year of our assessment, and we've observed results in it where students are moving from A, B, C, D. We don't really call it category, but they're moving from one level to the other. And there's an improvement from C to B and D to C, etc. Improvement in English competency is 32%. And that is also reflective in the recent ASAR survey as well. But again, ASAR is for the whole district. I don't get the data for my city. When we talk about student well-being and holistic development, there are a lot of impacts, a lot of things that we're trying to do. But one thing that becomes very, very important, and when we say about every child, that every child has to be the front bencher and the back bencher, that every child has to be an extrovert and introvert, that every child has to be a child which comes from a functional family also, but from a dysfunctional, broken family with a single mother or a single father or an abusive home atmosphere, etc., etc. Counseling becomes very critical. Starting last year, we indulged about 24 counselors. It's a pyramidal structure that we've put. We've had about 431 school sessions, which are like generalized talking to the entire school. We have had about 3,000 classroom session, which goes from grade to grade and, grade level, what the counselors can talk to, and about 2,400 individual counseling sessions with the kids. And it's been an eye-opener. It's been an eye-opener on multiple things. And now we are trying to scale up that entire program, which also links it to the child safety initiatives that we are trying to do. For the first time, we started introducing sports teacher. We are sports teacher in almost 50% schools, art teacher in 50% school. That itself was the first time that we introduced. Starting next year, we are scaling it up to almost another 75% schools. Time's almost up. We are activating SMCs, and that has been a very critical part in trying to take everyone along in trying to have a collaboration. And that SMC elections, that was the first time that we were having elections which were absolutely fair, where parents started to get involved. We started to give 1 lakh rupees to every school, where the SMC and the principal together could spend for various things. And out of school enrollment is something that we could really latch on to. Last year, in a vulnerability assessment that we did, we found about 459 kids who were out of school, mostly migrant laborers, because we are an industrial town and we get a lot of migrant laborers, and we're trying to do on that. One final thing probably that I want to talk about is socio-emotional and life skill program. In a recent assessment that I said about QCI, we observed that something like only 18% of our kids performed in self-awareness. Only 44% kids had traits like empathy, similarly about critical decision making, etc., etc. So starting in the coming academic year, we are forming a whole framework on how we can improve socio-emotional and life skills in the students so that we can prepare them to face a very, very uncertain world. And I really believe in this uncertain world, more than success, we need to also start teaching kids how to handle failure, because that is something that we never teach our kids on how to handle failure. And then we are using a lot of data as well, building a lot of external partnership. This is the final chart. I often keep telling my teachers that every kid that we're talking about, it's like a movie. I'm a Bollywood buff, and PCMC or Municipal Corporation is like a producer in that movie, where my teachers are the director, the script writers are people like Akanksha, LFE, and my education department. And all of these people that you see are like, someone's a spot boy, someone's like a production engineer, someone's like a sound engineer. And the final end result has to be a blockbuster for each and every kid. Can we have a blockbuster movie for each and every kid? It's going to be very difficult. It's not an easy task, because if I'm giving the same treatment to every movie, it becomes a formulaic and all flop. But if we are able to individualize what every kid wants, put them at the center, I think we would have done our part. That's all. Thank you so much.